Hello folks, and welcome back once more to my channel, the Scottish Model Railway Guy. What do you think of these wee guys? I like them. I picked them up at the Paisley Model Railway Show the other week there, which was fantastic. Now, what I'm going to be looking at today is this whole zone, including this. I think to get the complete feel of the area, I'm going to have to finally finish this little hill that I've done here. I'm going to show you how to do that, and I'm going to be adding some other details round about here. So hang on and we'll get to that and much more. So here we go. So I guess here we are, and what do we need? We need plaster bandage, like I've shown you before. Now, if you have not seen plaster bandage before, here it is. It's literally what it says in the tin, and we need that, and we need some water that is down at my feet, and we need some scissors. General theory: cut a piece of plaster bandage that will go over it, give it a snip, soak it in the bit of water that I've got down here, and then place it in position, and very quickly it begins to set, probably within 20 minutes to half an hour or so. So that is how you do that. Now, I'll just do it in hyperlapse because it doesn't take that long, but it could take a wee while if you're sitting watching me. So hang on, and we'll jump to hyperlapse, and you can see this coming together. So there we can see the effect, and you can see it came together really quite nicely. There's no straight lines, it's all contoured fairly naturally, like you take a guess at it. So what I'll do is I'll transition some grass onto this area, but first of all I'm going to paint this. However, I can't do that at the moment because it's still drying. So instead, what I'm going to try and do is paint some rails while that dries. Now, I've literally just started an attempt at this recently across the other side. I'm not really sure how it's came out. I'm just going to show you a tiny little section of this particular colour. What I'm doing is I'm just taking the tiniest dab for here. I think this brush is a bit big, but what I've learned is if you just run it along the edge of the rail, and because this is a siding and not the main line is going to be here, and this will look all the way around the layout and back at some point in the future, perhaps, if I continue with this layout and don't go to another, is that if we put a little bit of rust along there, it begins to add a touch of realism. Now, again, you'll get bored watching this. I think you get the effect really quickly. So I'm going to work on that while that dries, and then we'll come back to it and see how the whole thing looks. Hang on. And this is where we get to. So that over there is already dry. It took about 15 minutes all in while I was painting some rails. Now you can see the difference between these rails at the front, which have got a little bit of sort of rusty colour put onto them. And I hope you like that. And the rails behind it over here, what I'm trying to focus on just now, and you can see they're much shinier. So the total effect with the rusty rails down the old siding, I think works very well. You focus in on that and you can see the final effect, and it's a nice wee bit that's came together there. Anyway, back to the hill, which we're going to work on imminently to bring a bit of character to it, so hang on. So just to prove that it has dried in really quickly, give it a wee dunt, and then what am I going to do? A colour tester, £1 from, I don't know, places that sell colour tester paints, and then I'm literally just going to cover the whole thing so that it becomes more part of the landscape, and you'll see that taking shape really quickly when I do it, and it does become part of the landscape quickly. Now, nature doesn't operate in colours, it operates in many. So this is, as you can imagine, more or less a base coat, and the real trick at the end is to try and blend each to the next. And to not try to be too meticulous with it. You can see how that whole thing is changing right in front of your eyes. It's no longer a hunk of polystyrene or styrofoam. If you are in America, which many of my subscribers are, I've just broke through the 500 mark in about 4 months, so some people must be enjoying this. So, if you're enjoying it too, then please feel free to subscribe. You'll see lots and lots of stuff like this, giving you wee tips and tricks how to go about bringing your model railway to a point where it looks pretty cool. And I think in total, to paint this for just over a minute. To lay the styrofoam yesterday, it wasn't yesterday, but for example, if you laid it yesterday, you could be painting it today. Plaster bandaging it today and painting it today, and that's how quickly you can bring these together. So this paint typically takes 30 minutes to an hour to dry. It's more like paint you'd have on your wall, and you can see I'm just trying to get all the white bits, although they can be covered with grass, with little bits of rock, ballast, whatever you choose. However, the effect is obvious. We've went from pure white to something that looks nice and contoured, and the next stage of this would be to add some grass. Now, I said earlier, I don't want to add too much to this one. I want it to have a more exposed feel, because I'm going to be doing a little bit more sort of greys and blacks on it. But for now, I'll just blend that a little bit with some sort of fluffy grass. I don't know what you call it. Static grass, this stuff probably is. And because the paint's wet, it will stick. But the next stage is to let that dry, go over it with some darker paint, contour it, dry brush it. And if you don't know what that is, I will show you shortly. So, I went back in what I said. I've decided to go with light greens and dark greens and just sprinkle it on and blend it in and try to leave all the contours exposed, and to see if it gives us a sort of striking hill. Now, to put this into context, I've been in my loft, my layout, for probably no more than an hour to transform this little zone here. And you can see what I'm trying to do just now. Everything overspills very deliberately so that one colour leads to the next. Now, what I might do at some point is I might introduce some paint to these rock faces. But right now I'm liking what I see. It's different to the rest of the layout. Now, I've been sort of messing about with this for a few months now, trying to understand what looks best. What I have understood is that lots of bright greens don't look great, so I would say if there's any tip I can give is to not go heavy on the bright greens, because ultimately you need to do what I'm doing right now, which, for example, in this zone, I don't know if you can see that if I'm a bit too close, but I'm deliberately introducing different contour grass to it so that it all gets that, you know, cloudy feel to it, and to just use your art to say what looks good. Now, I think that looks good, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the camera and then I'm coming down to eye level, like I've said in some of my other eye level videos, which would be coming up about here somewhere, and they're worth a watch. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the camera and then come down to eye level and see how that looks, see if it looks realistic. Here we go. So forgive me if it does wobble a bit. I'm going to try and take you a wee tour through this zone so you can understand where I got to. I think this bit in particular looks quite good. And then down here, got this wee girl going a walk. And here's the hill that I just created. And I think it blends in really quite well in the lead into the station. And I think it looks good versus the background when you see things passing it. It's quite hard to see properly, but I do believe that's a bit of a success there, because it brings something different to the layout. Now, if you've enjoyed that, or any of the other videos I've done, please do subscribe, drop me a like, drop me a comment, and maybe even comment on some of the things that I've done here in the past. I'm always happy to hear them. Before I go, for you experts out there, how's that for weathering my old BP wagon with the oil dripping down? You can let me know if you choose to. But thank you for visiting my channel, it's much appreciated, and I'll see you again. Thank you.